home. Was this particular strain of H1N1 in 1918 especially lethal, or were there other circumstances that intensified its effects?
Well, first of all, one has to take a step back to understand what pandemic influenza really is. Influenza viruses are naturally occurring events in wild aquatic birds and have been for several hundred million years. And what has happened over evolutionary time is those viruses that attach to the cells of the intestine of the duck or other aquatic bird can't infect humans. But over time, if they were able to escape the aquatic bird and get into one of several other animal species, they didn't acquire the ability to basically, with a lock and key, get into the human lung cell. And the pig is one of the most notorious of all of the middle, you might say, game players, because they have receptor cells on their lungs for both bird viruses and human viruses. And so we get these viruses mixed up in the pig cell, lung cell, and they come out. That's where the term swine flu comes from. It occurs.
You had mentioned the progression from poultry to pigs. The working theory is that is how the 1918 pandemic started. Is that still something that people kind of
very acutely aware of, is the fact that we have a very different food production system in the world. To feed 7.6 billion people, the protein needs are so different than they were in 1918 even. Let me just give you an example. Any given month, 125 million new chickens are born in the peri-urban region of Shanghai, just to feed Shanghai. The average time from a chicken being hatched till it's on your plate is about 35 days. So every month, 125 million new chickens are born just there. When you look at the global distribution of poultry today, it dwarfs anything we ever saw in all of human history. And so we're seeing a mixing and a movement of influenza viruses in birds today that's unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented. And this is one of the reasons why we're so concerned about the future for pandemic influenza emerging again soon, is because of that. I mean, imagine in the old days, the flu virus may have had one throw in the genetic roulette table every month. Now it has millions and millions of throws virtually every hour. And so, we have to be prepared again, because this animal-human interface is moving these viruses a lot.
Is that why the Department of Health Minister?
Well, actually, it jumps fairly often, but with a grain of salt necessarily. We've learned so much new information about influenza in the last 10 years. And one of the things we've learned is that by far the most effective transmission may not be what we once thought. Surfaces probably play a very limited, if any, role at all. Yet we talk about hand washing and surfaces. Droplets, which we thought were the primary mode of transmission, which are those big boulders we blow out that actually go no further than 4 to 5 feet, were thought to be the primary way. Now we have very good data showing that aerosols, the things that just me talking up here, that may fill this entire room in a matter of minutes. If you want to understand an aerosol, next time you go to a major department store and you're 4 aisles away from the perfume department, but you can still smell the perfume, that's an aerosol. And so we actually think that has a very key role in transmission, which means then just being anywhere in public is going to facilitate the transmission. You don't have to be near somebody. The other challenge we have is we now know today that people may actually be highly infectious in the 24 hours before they have their first symptom. And so the problem you have today is that any one of us in this room could come down with flu tonight or tomorrow morning and be highly infectious sitting next to someone, and you appear to be completely well. And that's another challenge with flu transmission. We're going to lose public trust very quickly. When you have a crisis like this, if an earthquake happens, a tsunami happens, so many things like that, it happens and you go into recovery immediately. And when you can get into recovery, people have a very different mindset. But when the hammer is coming down on you day after day after day after day after day after day, fatigue starts to take over. When so many healthcare workers get sick and die, and you can't even staff the basic services, then you start to fray society in ways that we don't really understand completely here. And so I think that's the challenge then, is who is going to be the voice that people will look to and trust, because they want that voice. And if you have mixed messages in public health, we are in big trouble, because at that point immediately the public will have doubt that anybody knows what's going on. So I think that your messages about 1918 were very key.